Hello, anybody who's watching this video. You're probably looking at the title and thinking, what is this kid even talking about? But it's true, you know? Let me tell you about my day today, okay? So I woke up feeling so empty. Because first of all, my girlfriend broke up with me the other day. And then yesterday night, I found out that, she cheated on me in addition to breaking up with me. When I tried to be a better boyfriend for her, and I tried getting back at her, because I was improving, but she cheated on me, and she was talking to a boy right after, and there was something more than I wanted to do, because I had to go to school, it was late, I couldn't sleep, I went to school so tired, there's nothing more than I wanted to do than just come home and cry, just sit in my bed, curl up in my blankets and cry, But let me tell you what I actually did. I came to school, I went to my friends, and I put a smile on my face. I talked to them, I dapped them up. Even though every single part of my body was sad, I was happy. I acted to be happy, and then throughout that time, obviously I don't do drugs and stuff to mask the pain, but I acted happy in maybe an hour or so of just being happy, talking to my friends, laughing with my friends, even if it was hard to, I was happy in that moment, instead of going to school, with a sad face, being who I really am, and just being sad, but sometimes you just gotta realize that you have to move on, because nobody's gonna be waiting for you at the finish line when you're crying. You just gotta keep going. I know it hurts, because during class, I couldn't stop thinking about her. My heart was beating, but I was smiling. I was listening to music, I was smiling. I was just being this kid that they know me as. They know me as being funny, being as smart, and just being this kid that they know me as, Even though I was hurting inside, even though it hurt so badly, I came home, and maybe I went home and cried, but no, I didn't. What I did was I came home, I was putting on some music that made me happy, even though I literally cried, but I was trying so hard to be happy. I was looking at the bright side and saying that I don't need her, because that showed who she really was, how she really was, and I shouldn't be waiting for someone like that, because I put my faith into her, I put my effort into her, but it's not worth it, because if she would do it, that is just horrible. I can't believe she would do that to me, but she did that to me, and I can't just go back and just come to her house and tell her that she can't do that, because that's her choice, and I'm gonna leave her alone, because I love her. I'll let her go, and if she wants to do that to me and be with that boy, whatever, I'll let that happen, because it makes her happy, even though I can't do anything anyway. But sometimes you just gotta realize some things are out of your reach, and the only thing you can do is enjoy life that God has given you, because God didn't give you this life to mourn. God didn't give you this life to cry and be depressed. Your mom didn't spend 9 months with you in her stomach, and she was, in so much pain, and she pushed you. She didn't do all that just to make you cry, just to make you feel sad. She made you do that because she wanted a child that she can be proud of, and that she can see prosper and heal and grow as a person. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. I'm saying it only gets easier if you put in that effort. Okay, because if it was easy, you wouldn't be watching this video. You'd be so far past this. You'd be so far past this problem. You wouldn't need any help, but you're not, and it's not easy. Okay, so that's why you're here. And when continuing, when I got home, I put on some music. I was so tempted to put on sad music and just cry. Maybe I'll listen to music. I'll just put on some happy music. I put on some Lil Uzi Vert, and that made me happy. That made me, so I was singing along, I was with my friend at the top on college, so we can just talk and just listen to music, or if you don't have friends, just do things that make you happy, like play piano or go to the gym and do stuff like that, pray to God, if relation, go pray your deity and stuff like that, simple things like that, listen to music or listen to it, watch a YouTube video or but I'm telling you, don't do things that remind you of them. Delete social media, delete everything that remind you of them, where you have the option to stalk them, because I promise you, it's gonna be late at night, and that your heart is always gonna follow that crack that you leave open for to stalk them, to follow them. That's not what you want. Because I know you want to move on. I know you want to heal, but in reality, I know you want them back. Okay, because I want her back. I want her to be mine. But she can't. She's not. It's too late. Okay, you have to keep going. You can't look back at the past. Stop looking at the past and saying, this is what I want. That's not what you want. You want to keep moving on. Okay, you don't have a choice sometimes. You have to keep moving on. Life doesn't just pause when it gets hard. It keeps going, and that's why you gotta try harder. That's why you gotta put more effort. Because I just want to give up. I just want to leave the earth. I almost took my life when we broke up, but I didn't. I got into the hospital. Ambulance, police stopped me. I got into the hospital, and now I'm doing a lot better. But a lot better doesn't mean I'm fully moved on, because it still hurts. I still wake up in the morning thinking about her, but it's getting better each day, I wake up, putting that happy face in. I've been growing. I've been adapting to being happy most of the time, So stop being sad. Okay, stop. Even I know you're sad. I know it hurts. I'm sad too. I'm sad right now. But that doesn't mean you should just show all the time, because you want to show that good side of you. And I promise, the more you show that, the more you bring it out. It's like going to sleep, before you can actually fall asleep, you gotta pretend you're asleep, you know what I'm saying? It's like that, If you actually want to be happy, pretend you're happy and you'll be happier. Laugh with your friends, stop acting like it's the end of the world. Okay? You have so many years ahead of you. Don't waste it. Don't waste it on this one person. Move on, okay? I know it's sad. I know maybe you lost them. Maybe you lost you lost your mind. I couldn't think. I can't, I have midterms. I can't even focus, because all I could think about is studying. But you have to move on, because she's not waiting for you. I'm sorry. Because if you're waiting for her, while you're waiting for her, she's deleting every picture. She's deleting every memory that you had of her. And she's leading you on by saying, son, I'm sorry. By saying stuff like, I'm sorry, I promise, maybe you can work out later. And you're giving her that power to control you. Okay, let that go. I promise. Because I'm telling you, the number one thing to do is when you grow, when you grow and heal yourself, that's the best thing you can do yourself to improve. Because I promise you don't need to show that you're growing, because they'll notice that you're growing. They'll notice that you became this person that's happy, stronger, closer to God, closer to your family, like a better boyfriend, a better partner, a better person. And they'll realize that. They'll text you, they'll say, I made a mistake. But by that time, you'll be so far gone. You'll be looking at her and saying, why did I even want you in the first place? And you'll be moved on. I promise you that. Okay, I promise you that. But maybe even if she doesn't say that, she'll notice. She will notice, and you won't even want her again, I promise. Because I still want her, but I know that time will heal. I know I'm putting in the effort, I'm putting in the hours, to change, to replace her, to be somebody better, I'm doing it the right way. I'm not like her who needing her boy to replace that void in the heart. I'm doing it by, reading the Bible every night, reading the Bible every morning, praying to God every night, praying to God in the morning, praying to God throughout the day, working out in the gym, talking to my wife, getting closer to my friends, going closer to my family, focusing on my dreams, focusing on my business, day trading and stuff like that, focusing on my dream to be like a motivational YouTuber. Because this is what I want to do, and you should too. But you can't do that if you're convincing yourself that you can't be happy. If you can't because when you're sad, you're convincing yourself, you're making excuses for yourself that you can't do anything, and that those things bring you down as a person. They make you feel weaker and less, because you're giving them power. You're giving them them power over you that they don't deserve. They don't deserve it. And while you're over there giving it to them, they're moving on. They're forgetting about you. And you can't move on. Okay? Give yourself that power. Give yourself that growth. Give yourself that ability. I'm not telling you to be perfect. I'm telling you to be that better version of yourself. I'm telling you to be, that person that you've always wanted to be, Because when you're dying in that deathbed, You're gonna remember the times when you grew and you know, made big steps. You're not gonna remember the time when you cried, when you were depressed, when you didn't do things that you didn't want, things that you know that you didn't want to do. You're not gonna remember the times when you procrastinated, because you're gonna regret those times. You're gonna regret not starting that one day when it first came to your mind. Okay? But all this leads up to staying happy, staying in a good mood, you know? Telling your mom you love them now and then, you know? I know it's hard, you know? Giving your friend a little hug if you feel down, you say, asking what's wrong, you know? Maybe talk to that one girl that you never had, you had a crush on, but you just didn't want, it was too scared, you know? But like, come on, but do that like later, you know? Like let yourself heal first, you know? But obviously, like do things, you know? Stop being sad, stop coming to school and wanting attention, okay? Because you're wanting attention that you don't need. That's worsening you, okay? Because when I got to school and, you know, my friend knew I went to the hospital, almost killed myself. He gave me a big hug. He said if I was okay, you know? And that made me feel better, but I didn't beg for that attention, you know? Because he knew that I was, you know, I was hurting inside, but he knew that I'm this happy, I'm this guy who can make anybody laugh, who can make somebody laugh. And that's what he realized, you know, that I was trying my hardest. And you should too. You should try your hardest, even if no one notices, you know? You have to be a better version. You can't let yourself be sad all the time, because this sadness pulls you down. Okay? It pulls you down. Let the wounds heal normally. Don't put a band-aid over it. Just drinking, vaping, you know, replacing the good person with somebody you don't want to be with, you know? It's letting go. It's letting go of a life that you know you don't want to live. You start being happy, you know? Start coming to school with a motivation, with a good mindset, even though it's hard, you know? You know, you have a test that day. So what? So what if you fail? So what if you do bad, you know? You're getting through it, you know? You don't need to get 100, you know? You don't need that perfect score to get in that dream school, you know? You need you need to just focus on being happy. Because what's that grade gonna do for you? If you spend 10 hours studying when you could have been doing something that was meaningful to you, you know, like playing piano, working out, you know? Maybe you spend like an hour studying and an hour later, you know, that's more important, okay? Now, if you didn't get much from this video, I'm not gonna give up on you, okay? I want you to come to school with a smile on your face, you know? Say hi to your friends, you know, be happy with them. Stop putting that on your face, you know? Come on, just be happy, bro. You have one life and you're not gonna remember it by being happy. God's gonna ask you, was your life meaningful to you? And you're gonna say, what do you guys say? It's up to you to find out, okay? Peace out. Good luck. Don't give up, okay? You're not alone.